I had heard the stories about the dark forest since I was a child. They said that the forest was haunted, that strange creatures roamed the woods, and that no one who entered ever returned. But I was determined to find out the truth. As I stepped into the forest, I felt a shiver run down my spine. The trees were tall and twisted, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers. As I made my way deeper into the forest, I could hear strange noises in the distance. It sounded like something was following me, something that was just out of sight. I quickened my pace, trying to ignore the fear that was creeping up inside me. But no matter how fast I walked, the sounds grew closer. And then, I saw it. A pair of glowing eyes, staring at me from the darkness. I froze, unable to move. The eyes drew closer, and I could hear the sound of something breathing, something that was not quite human. And then, the creature stepped into the light. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before. Its skin was pale and leathery, and its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. Its teeth were sharp and pointed, and its fingers ended in razor-sharp claws. I tried to run, but the creature was too fast. It lunged at me, and I felt its claws sink into my flesh. I screamed in pain, but the creature didn't stop. It seemed intent on tearing me apart, piece by piece. As I lay on the ground, bleeding and helpless, I knew that I was going to die. And then, something miraculous happened. A group of people appeared, wielding torches and swords. They fought off the creature, driving it back into the darkness. They pulled me to my feet, and I could see that they were not quite human themselves. Their eyes glowed with an inner light, and their skin seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. They led me through the forest, their swords at the ready in case of another attack. And then, we came to a clearing. In the center of the clearing stood a stone circle, ancient and mystical. The people led me inside, and I could feel the power of the stones coursing through me. It was as if the stones themselves were alive, imbued with magic and energy. And then, I understood. The dark forest was not haunted by evil creatures, but by creatures of light. The creatures that roamed the woods were not there to harm, but to protect. As I walked out of the forest, I knew that my life had been forever changed. I had seen things that others could only dream of, and I had been saved by creatures that others would call monsters. But to me, they were heroes. They had saved my life, and in doing so, they had shown me that there was magic in the world, that there were forces beyond our understanding. And I knew that I would never forget the dark forest, or the creatures that lived within its bounds. They had shown me a side of the world that I never knew existed, and I was grateful for the experience, no matter how terrifying it had been. I had heard the stories about the old well since I was a child, but I had never believed them. People said that the well was cursed, that those who dared to venture too close would be haunted by the spirits that dwelled within. But now, as I stood at the edge of the well, staring down into the dark abyss, I couldn't shake the feeling that the stories might be true. I had come to the well on a dare, one that I now regretted. My friends had told me that if I could throw a stone into the well and make a wish, that wish would come true. I had laughed it off, thinking it was just a silly superstition, but now I wasn't so sure. As I raised my arm to throw the stone, I felt a chill run down my spine. The air around me seemed to thicken, and I could hear the faint sound of whispers on the wind. I hesitated, wondering if I should turn back, but I was already too far gone. I threw the stone, and it clattered down into the well, disappearing into the darkness below. And then, all at once, the whispers turned into screams. I felt a sudden pressure on my chest, like something was pushing me down into the well. I stumbled backwards, trying to catch my breath, but the air around me was thick and suffocating. I looked up at the sky, searching for some kind of reprieve, but the stars had disappeared, replaced by a swirling mass of dark clouds. I realized then that I was not alone, that something had awoken in the well, and it was hungry. I tried to run, but my feet were heavy, and the air was like molasses. I stumbled and fell, feeling the earth tremble beneath me. The ground shook, and I heard a deep, rumbling laughter that seemed to come from all around me. And then, in the distance, I saw it, a shadowy figure that rose up out of the well, stretching high into the sky. It was a towering monstrosity, with eyes that glowed like hot coals and a mouth that dripped with black sludge. I tried to scream, but my voice was gone, drowned out by the laughter of the creature. It reached down and plucked me up, holding me in its massive clawed hand. I could feel its hot breath on my face, and I knew that I was going to die. But then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the creature vanished, and I found myself lying on the ground, gasping for air. I looked up, and I saw that the sky was clear again, the stars shining brightly above. I stumbled to my feet, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew then that I had been foolish to ever come to the well, that the stories were true, and that the curse was real. I turned and ran, not stopping until I was far away from the well, and even then, I could feel the eyes of the creature watching me, waiting for me to come back. I had always been fascinated by the old mansion at the edge of town. It was said to be haunted, with a long and bloody history that had left its mark on the place. As I stepped through the front door, I felt a chill run down my spine. The air was cold and damp, and the musty smell of decay hung heavy in the air. I could hear the creaking of the old wooden floors, as if someone was walking through the house. I walked through the grand foyer, taking in the faded grandeur of the place. The walls were lined with portraits of the former residents, all of them staring down at me with stern expressions. I shuddered, feeling as though their eyes were following me. As I made my way through the mansion, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Shadows seemed to flit across the walls, and strange whispers echoed through the halls. It was as if the house itself was alive, and it didn't want me there. And then, as I reached the top of the stairs, I saw her. A ghostly figure, standing at the end of the hall. She was dressed in a long white gown, with long black hair that cascaded down her back. Her eyes were empty and lifeless, but they seemed to bore into my soul. I tried to turn and run, but I was frozen in place. I could feel her presence, like a cold hand on my shoulder, holding me in place. And then, she spoke. "Why are you here?" she said, her voice soft and sad. I was just curious," I stammered. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "This place is cursed. It has been for generations." "What happened here?" I asked. The ghostly figure sighed. "Many years ago, the family who lived here was cursed. They were all consumed by greed and jealousy, and they turned on each other. It was a bloodbath. And now, their spirits are trapped here, unable to leave." I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I wanted to leave, to run away from this place, but I couldn't move. And then, as if in answer to my thoughts, the house began to shake. The walls trembled, and the portraits on the walls fell to the ground, shattering into a million pieces. The ghostly figure looked at me. "It's too late," she said. "The curse has been awakened." I felt a sudden surge of fear, as if 1,000 hands were closing in around me. And then, everything went dark. When I woke up, I was lying on the ground outside the mansion. The sun was shining, and the birds were singing. It was as if the nightmare had never happened. But I knew better. I could still feel the chill of the haunted mansion, still hear the whispers of the cursed spirits. And I knew that I would never be the same again.